Hello, everybody. My name is Josephine Roach, and I am a breast cancer advocate, speaker, and author. But most importantly, I am a 6-year breast cancer survivor. I started this YouTube series, these videos, and this channel because I know a lot of people, unfortunately, who have been diagnosed with breast cancer, and it can be a lonely feeling. And I started this channel to talk about breast cancer, what I went through, so hopefully you can resonate with it. And also, hopefully, you gain some knowledge from what I am telling you, and maybe a little tidbit here and there that you're like, oh, wow, I'm going through that too, what Josephine mentioned. And I guess if she got through it, I can get through it too. So if you're enjoying these videos or if you find them helpful, please subscribe to my YouTube channel, like the video, and you can share it with somebody that you may find or think that would benefit from it. And also, again, if there's a comment you want to write, go ahead and write a comment. If there's a question, write a question. And if I don't know the answer, I will find somebody who knows the answer. So on the last video, I talked about finishing chemotherapy and the importance of support and the support that I got, and then also how great it felt to be done with chemotherapy. Today, I want to go on to a discussion on radiation. After my chemotherapy was done, I did get about a month break, and I then had to start going to see a radiation oncologist. So now we're introduced to another doctor. So in this journey so far, I had a breast cancer surgeon, a breast surgeon. Then I had a medical oncologist who discussed my treatment, and then we went through and he decided the treatment plan for me. And I saw him weekly through my chemotherapy for 3 months. And now I was introduced to a radiation oncologist. My tumor had been taken out. I had a lumpectomy and I had had chemotherapy. So the next step was radiation. And there was some prep for the radiation. And as I told you in previous videos, I have written a book, and it's called Josephine's Journey, A Breast Cancer Survivor's Story of Hope. I wrote the book just as I'm doing these videos to help people understand what a breast cancer journey looks like. My journey is different from your journey, but hopefully you can resonate with some parts of it. Also, I don't think I've ever mentioned this. I have a master's degree as a physician assistant, and I do have a medical background, and I do write medical things in my book that I encountered and what the doctors have told me. And I just wanted to add that as well. But also, I wanted to read the beginning of a chapter in my book entitled Radiation. And my book is an easy read. Everyone that has purchased this says it's an easy read. And I entitled the chapters. So if you don't want to read like the whole book, or maybe you just want to go to radiation or just go to chemotherapy or hair loss, you can go to that. So I specifically organized the chapters in a way that if you don't want to read the whole book, or if you just want to reference an area or go back, you can do that. So again, this chapter is entitled On to Radiation. And this is some of the things that I wrote, what I did and what happened to me. Now, this necessarily might not happen to you, but I wanted to talk about parts of my journey that may resonate with you. Here's what I wrote. The feeling of relief I felt after finishing chemotherapy was that of a giant weight lifted from my shoulders. 3 months of receiving chemotherapy once a week seemed like such a big mountain to climb. I'm happy to say I got through it, and I am ready to conquer the next mountain, radiation. Before beginning radiation, I needed to get a CAT scan to determine where the cancer had been located. I then received tattoo marks, little blue dots, that helped align the radiation beams to target the exact area. The whole procedure was explained in great detail to me by a new doctor called a radiation oncologist. I brought my sister along for this appointment because I needed a second set of ears in case I missed any critical information. The radiation oncologist discussed the radiation procedure in clear terms. I was glad my sister was there because we could review everything after the appointment. Because of my breast cancer location and larger breasts, it was explained that I had to receive my radiation lying on my stomach, with my breast exposed through a space on the radiation table. Others may receive radiation while lying on their back. When you receive radiation treatment, the actual radiation time lasts only a few minutes, but the total time spent getting ready and positioning correctly takes 20 to 45 minutes. So that's a little explanation of what my radiation was like. Did I like radiation? Does anybody like radiation? Probably the answer would be no. I didn't like radiation because of just how, I don't know, it seemed mechanical to me. And maybe it won't be for you, but for me it was real mechanical, and having to disrobe in front of a couple people in the, in the room where I received radiation was uncomfortable because there were, sometimes there would be a man in the room along with a woman. And then I just didn't like, and I know they had to do all this, manipulate my breast, position it. That's what takes time, positioning it, getting those tattoo marks, those blue marks that I told you, getting those beams, correct. So they have to position you correctly because they want to get the area, I believe, where they had taken the tumor, because now they want to make sure there's no other tumor cancer cells left. So that's why we're doing this radiation. I said that I talked to the radiation oncologist, brought my sister along. The radiation oncologist explained in great detail what they were going to do, the angles. He drew pictures. He was amazing. And also, did explain the risks to me because of where my breast cancer was. He said that the beams would probably, will most likely hit the tip of my lung. And then there were some risks there, but thank goodness I got through it. There was no damage or anything that happened to my lungs. But again, he had to explain the risks. Now, that was in 2018, and now radiation is different. There's this proton therapy where it just goes directly to the area. It radiates and stops. It doesn't go through all the way. So that will protect organs that in the past had to be hit in order, because the beam would go all the way through. But now this targeted proton therapy goes right to the area and stops. So I think that's wonderful. So just in the short time since 2018, when I received radiation, there's been progress. So that's always just so good to hear that we're making progress in this field, and that makes me happy because maybe I hope someday in my lifetime there is a cure for breast cancer. But the reason why there isn't is that there's so many different types of breast cancer. And I spoke about that in previous videos. There's so many. We're made up, we're all our DNA is different. And so each cancer has different treatments. So it is hard. Maybe there is, advances in one type of breast cancer over the other. Mine was triple positive, meaning positive for estrogen, progesterone, and HER2. And that HER2, thank goodness, was targeted. I had targeted therapy. I had Herceptin, which was an antibody treatment that helped. People with my type of breast cancer over 20 years ago with a HER2 positive diagnosis died because there wasn't treatment. But today there is treatment. So as I said, there's advances, but it takes a long time to make a discovery. And from inception of that medication, going through the clinical trials and then getting it to the patient takes many, many years. So that's why, people ask, they can't understand why there aren't cures. Well, those are some of the reasons why. And I know it can be defeating. But back to radiation, those were when I was talking about the reasons I didn't like radiation. Those were some of the reasons. Again, being in front of a man, disrobing, the manipulation of my breasts. But I knew these were all things that were going to help me in the end. Radiation for me was 4 weeks, going 5 days a week. Once a week, Monday through Friday, and I just treated it like a job. I said, this is my job and I'm going to get through it. I went to the cancer center again for my radiation. That was almost an hour away, 50 minutes away from my house. But like I said, I just treated it as a job and said, this is what I'm going to be doing for the next 4 weeks. This is what's going to help me. This is the next step, and it's going to get me closer to survivorship. So that is my story, what I went through for radiation. Other people have different stories. Location is different for other people. The length of treatment is different. Like I told you, now there's proton therapy, targeted proton therapy. You may be receiving that. And again, just wanting to stress that I decided to do everything possible, what was described to me by my medical oncologist. These are the steps that you take. This is the treatment you need. And again, and it was explained to me, if I had gone through what my cancer diagnosis was and my treatment, the 5-year survival rate was high. It was 97%. So I was more than happy to go through all of this. I know initially a diagnosis of any type of cancer is devastating, and all of us handle a diagnosis differently. And as we go through this journey, our feelings change. It's a roller coaster of emotions. I felt happy being done with chemotherapy and getting on to radiation because I knew I was getting closer to the end, and I knew I was doing everything I could possibly do to help myself. On the next video, I'm going to talk about something else that I did to help myself. And I hope that you join to listen about when I sought out a different doctor that helped me as well. So I hope that this was helpful to you. And if this video was, again, subscribe to my channel, like it, and share it to people if you know someone. If it's not you, if it's someone else, a friend, a coworker, a family member that's going through breast cancer, hopefully this will help them too. And if you have a question or just a comment, go ahead and write it below on this channel. So I appreciate you listening to me. And until next time, goodbye.